Hi, it's me, Egbert, Egburt, the owner of this radio station. I invite everyone to listen, no matter if you're young, old, black, white, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, heck, I even want real estate agents listening to my station. Yes, even Rick and Tracy. You're all welcome. Now, it's back to my Goodwill ambassadors, Brad and John.
I don't know if you've noticed it. I have 2 hearing aids. I'm very deaf. I'm not understanding. Everybody's yelling. I'm doing the best I can.
That sounds like me, doesn't it? I mean, have 2 hearing aids. I can't understand what people are saying.
At your age, Brad, you're lucky that's all that's gone. As long as you have 2 hearing aids and a bum leg, I think you're doing pretty well.
Do you know, that's one of the interesting things about me is that my age and being in the radio business, and once again, being in studios with speakers and headphones and working on cars and cutting grass all the time, my hearing is still pretty damn good. I mean, I had it tested recently, and the lady who tested it she says, "How old are you?" I go, 89. She goes, "Wow, you've got pretty damn good hearing." And you know what I told her? I said, "You know what the reason for that is?" And she goes, "What?"
What's that?
I live in Nick Schroyer's Senate district, so that's why my hearing's good. Because
yeah, and she said she never heard of him, but she heard of Nick Schroyer. Now, Brad, before we forget, and before we get into the main topic of whatever you have planned for B Block, you mentioned grass cutting. When do you traditionally do your last grass cutting in the fall?
Well, it depends on the year. Sometimes, I mean, I've cut grass. Believe it or not, I've cut grass after Thanksgiving. I mean, once again.
No way, really?
Oh, yeah. But it depends on how you take care of it, though. I mean, this year, here, it's funny you should bring this up because I'm a lawn nerd. This year, September is typically your lawn renovation month, where the temperatures. I mean, this is when you're supposed to get your core aeration done and
aeration and overseeding.
Exactly, all that kind of stuff. Well, the problem with that is, first off, the core aeration guys have had a hell of a time because the ground's been like concrete, because of the fact that it's so dry. And then the problem is, if you do the overseeding, if you don't have a sprinkler system, you start wasting your money because of the fact that the birds have probably eaten all the seed out before it has any chance to germinate because it didn't get it wasn't moist enough for it to germinate. So this has been a funky year. Now we had all the rain Monday, starting Sunday, I guess Sunday night and Monday and Tuesday. It was actually raining a little bit still yesterday afternoon, and that's going to help. But the problem is the ground was so dry. I mean, it's a lot of it ran off pretty quick. So. You already start to see some of the lawns green up, but typically, like I said, I've cut grass after Thanksgiving before. I mean, and once again, I'm the nerd guy. I love to cut grass. I mean, to the point where I'll tell you a secret, and you're not gonna. I told this to somebody else, and they looked at me like I had 4 heads.
What's the secret, Brad?
Take a guess how many lawnmowers I own.
You've told us several times on the show, and I don't remember the number. I would guess I'll lowball you and say 4.
I have 11.
Wow. Yes. And are they all in one but you have some like at the transmitter site, right?
Yeah, I have some of them spread around so I don't have to trailer them around and stuff like that. And once again, none of them I bought new. I mean, in fact, the last one I bought, if I told you this story...
Haven't you driven long distances for these?
Oh yeah. I've driven all. Matter of fact, the last zero turn I bought, I drove almost to Chicago to get it. So, but the one I got, which was sort of bizarre, I saw it on Facebook Marketplace. And it's a John Deere commercial walk-behind. Now, I already have 2 John Deere commercial walk-behinds. I have 2 48s, and this was a 36. And the 36 is good because of the fact that if you cut lawns like people that have like subdivisions have fences, most of your fences are at least like 38 inches, so you can get a 36 through the fence. Okay, so like you're doing the back, they're doing the backyard. Otherwise, you can't get a commercial lawnmower in the backyard. Okay, so I see this on Facebook, and what's funny about it is it's a garage full of lawn equipment, and he's got prices for various things. So I look at the address, and the address is in the combat zone, okay? We're talking in the nasty, bad North City neighborhood. So, there's no phone number. So I send a message, and the guy replies. He says, "Yeah, come on down." He gives me an address, okay, which once again is in the combat zone. I get in my car, I drive there, and these guys were 2 con men who I knew what they were doing, but they would not fess up to me. They had been hired, apparently, and this is somewhat of a sad story because I did a little bit of research on this. A dude passed away. He had a lawn care company, and he was up there in years, and he had all this stuff in his garage. He had a snow plow in his garage, and he had numerous, lawnmowers and stuff like that. And by the time I got there was only 2 of them. One of them was in parts. The other one was decent, which I bought. And I said to the guy, I go, when's the last time these ran? And these 2 guys said to me, we own this lawn care company, and we just cut grass. This was like probably in December. He says, we just used that one probably about 4 weeks ago. And I go, okay, fine. So I'm thinking to myself, BS, 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 BS.
Yeah.
So I buy the thing, and the guy decides, and I'm driving my car, and once again, this is a commercial walk-behind lawnmower that weighs probably 600-700 pounds. So it's not like I throw it in the trunk or anything like that. So the guy tells me he's going to deliver it for another extra $25. So I say, okay, fine. So they show up at my place, and they have no way. I don't know how they got it in the truck. They have no way to get it out of the truck. So I'm going like, well, how are we going to do this? So finally, all 3 of us, pitched in and picked the thing up. I got into the thing. If you don't operate, especially lawn equipment, for a specific period of time, the carburetor gets gummed up. The gasoline essentially turns to like sort of like if you catch it quick enough,
viscous, right?
Well, it gets gelled, and then it goes into the solid state where the gel becomes like glue. This thing hadn't been run in probably 10 years because when you opened up the carburetor, it's to the point where it was like petrified gasoline in the carburetor.
Yeah.
The fuel tank was nasty. You can smell if gasoline's bad, as weird as that sounds. The filter was all clogged up. The fuel pump was like not pumping. And I'm thinking to myself, and he's going, oh yeah, we cut grass 4 weeks ago. And once again, I did check on this, and it turned out that this was an unfortunate situation. This was a gentleman who passed away and used to own a lawn care company and hadn't done anything like in 10 years. So this stuff was probably in his garage for 10 years, not being used. And we just cut grass last week. Yeah, right. Okay, whatever. But anyway, I got it going. The problem with it is the engine. It's a 1998 model. And you can't get parts for the engine anymore. So I've had some issues with. I cut grass with it. It's a good lawnmower. It was in good shape. Except for the fact that I had to completely, essentially for all intents and purposes, replace the fuel system. But and what the heck, right?
Yeah. And one of the things I learned from you that listeners can take away for their own lawn care is that especially that last cut of the year, you want to make it like AstroTurf. Like you're one of the foremost advocates of leaving like a ½ inch of grass. Some people they want to make sure that the blades are longer, but in fact, you suggest using a very dull blade, never balancing it, and scalping your grass, right? Isn't that the most efficient way?
John is being 100% BS because of the fact that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do. You don't want to do that at all. No. Well, see, once again, where I used to, back in the day where I used to live, okay, I had a next door neighbor that cut his grass like 3/4 of an inch, and he could never understand why his grass, died in the summer. When you get into July, I go, dude, and because all you have to do is watch the pros. And I will just tell you this: if you go to a very nice shopping center where they really take care of the grass, keep an eye on how, even after they've cut it, how long the grass is. And most of your commercial guys will never cut anything less than 3 inches. That's unless the client tells them that. But if they are, if you get a good property manager who hires a good lawn care company, the grass is and they'll change the depth from during the season. They go, okay, cut it down a ½ inch, cut it up a ½ inch, that kind of stuff. It's really a science. It's actually sort of fascinating. And the problem we have in the St. Louis area is because we're in what they call a transitional zone, season where the cool season grasses do okay in the spring and the fall, but they do terrible in the summer. But the warm season grasses don't do well in the fall and the spring. So that's why, the preferred grass that a lot of people have is like this modified, what they call a turf-type tall fescue. See, yesterday you learned about nitrogen, or Monday you learned about nitrogen. Was that yesterday we talked about that? Yesterday?
Yeah. The difference is between yesterday and today is almost everybody has a lawn.
Right.
And not everybody does copper welding, though. But now the other thing, though, too, is, Brad, so what you're saying is that if we want to see a good-looking grass, like go to River Roads Mall, maybe like Northland, you're saying, or maybe go by next time you're going to Stelmackey's, like maybe see what they do by top of the tower.
By
That's
the
what
way,
you recommend,
did
right?
you see that they tore the tower down?
I didn't see that, Brad. I'm a little upset that I wasn't invited to the demolition. When did that happen?
I think last week sometime. I saw a bunch of pictures on Facebook.
No, I feel like that should have been an event. Like, I went to the event when they imploded the arena. Like, I went to that. That was in 1999. That was a big deal. I feel like I should have been there when Top of the Tower. You want to explain the significance of Top of the Tower for folks who don't know?
Okay. If you're not a North County person, you don't know about this. Lewis and Clark, 367, was that Chambers right there? I think is Chambers or what?
Yeah, it's a Chambers. Yeah.
Chambers. Okay. This was like a huge, big deal when they built it. And I don't know if you knew this or not. There was going to be twin towers. Did you know this part of the story?
I did not know that. No.
Yes, there were going to be twin towers because they built the South Tower and I don't think they built the North Tower. But it was this round cylindrical building that originally was, I think it was apartments. And there was a theater there. Remember there was a theater there? Remember that? And believe it or not.
Remember, so I grew up in the 80s.
Right.
So I don't remember the theater at all.
Well, that's where I got my driver's license. I mean, that little complex has a part in my history because of the fact that I think on my birthday, now the kids nowadays, when they turn 21, they decide, maybe I'll get my driver's license. Damn, I mean, I would have probably camped out. If my mom would have let me, I would have pitched a tent in the parking lot, at this in front of Stelmackey's Market, to the point when they open up the door, I would be there, getting my driver's license. But they built this tower, and it was a round cylindrical tower, and it was like apartments, and it sort of, through the years, it sort of went downhill. And I think they turned it into condos at one point in time.
They did. I remember looking this up not too long ago, Brad. And then I think it just, whoever ran the condos just let it, like, I don't even think people live there as recently as, a decade ago?
Well,
or has it been more recent?
Got to the point where the elevators didn't work anymore. So if you were like on floor 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that, and there was a restaurant on the top called Top of the Towers. And at the time, as a kid, I always thought to myself, someday, maybe I'll
It was aspirational, right?
It was like, someday, maybe I could eat at Top of the Towers. And I would say to my mom and dad, can we go eat there sometime? Oh no, that's too expensive. Because that was my stopping ground up there. Because I lived, you know where I lived. I lived on Claudine.
I know exactly. You were even closer to Top of the Tower than I was.
Yeah.
I was a little bit further north.
Right, the infamous Claudine, where that poor girl got the beat down. That's my street I lived on. And
well, my home library, while we're playing Remember When, was the Lewis and Clark Library right there. You remember that one?
I used to go there all the time. Matter of fact.
They had story hour in the summer. My mom would take me there. It was fantastic.
Matter of fact, my introduction to McDonald's was the McDonald's not too far down the Lewis and Clark from across from the North, the North Drive-In or whatever it was. See, I told this story to somebody else not too long ago, and they looked at me like, what? My mom was, I get asked this from time to time. People say, what religion are you? I go, I don't know. And they'll go, how do you not know what religion you are? Because my mom was like this pre-hippie chick, okay? So she was going to expose us, and I used air quotes, expose us to all sorts of different religions. And she did. We went to this church and this denomination, that denomination, all sorts of different crazy places. And it was one of those things where people would say like, okay, so what were you baptized? I go, I don't know. I don't know if I was baptized because I really don't know if I was baptized or not. On Easter morning, my mom would drive us to the North Drive-In where they had Easter service at the drive-in theater, and there was a dude, a pastor dude, who would stand up on a little podium that they put up, and you put your little speaker in your window, and you sat there, and he gave the service. And you listened to it on your speaker because he had a microphone that fed the entire, and it was packed. I'm telling you. I mean,
now remind everybody was that in Jennings?
No, well, I don't know technically where it's at, but it's on 367 Lewis and Clark. I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, so it would be around Jennings, right?
Yeah, but it's probably, I don't know if it would have been in Jennings or not. I mean, there's an area, there's a bunch of different munis in there. I can't remember what.
But I know where you're saying. It's on 367.
Well, it was right across the street from one of the original McDonald's. There were 3 original McDonald's in St. Louis. One of them in South County, one of them on Airport Road, and one of them were 367. And it was right across the highway from that. And that's where I went to church. And I had this discussion with somebody 2 weeks ago, and they were like, well, what religion were you brought up? I go, I don't know. And they go, like, how do you not know? I go, because see, here's the interesting thing. My mom did me a favor because I have this incredible, interest in religion on all different levels. I mean, once again, I grew up in North County. John, 98.2% of the people in North County, what religion were they?
Absolutely Catholic.
You got that straight.
They called it Catholic. They were Catholics.
Right. And my mom used to get mad about that because of the fact that there were some people on our street, some kids on our street who were hellraisers. And of course, my mom would say to me, she'd look me in the eye and she goes, you know what the problem with those kids is? They're Catholic and they can do anything they want. Then they just go to confession and everything's great. Everything's great.
Hey, I would point out, Brad, once again, I was the only Catholic the only family that was not Catholic. I was the only Protestant family on my entire street.
See, you know what I'm saying?
Because we lived down the street from St. Aloysius Church, which
right.
You remember St. Aloysius, a huge church.
Yeah. And the interesting part of it was, since everything in North County was Catholic, my mom would take us sometimes down in the South City to go to these churches. We'd go to a Lutheran church and this kind of church and stuff like that. So it was sort of interesting. And
but I look at it like the eras, I think like BGS and AGS. You have before the God Squad, and then you have after God Squad. So think of how religion has changed in America since God Squad has come about, Brad.
I put this I don't know how I get these things on my Facebook feed. Okay. I talked about this thing with what did you call it? We didn't call it. I mean, there's a term, if you're into religion, they call it the non-denoms. Okay, that's the non-denoms, which is
I call it they're like the Nickelback type churches.
Right, the Grace River Church, the Element churches, the places like that. Okay, and I put this up on my Facebook page the other day, where once again. Maybe it's because I am Pastor Brad and I do run the God Squad Church, but it's this ad for this company that does the video walls, and they've got each of the video walls named with like a different. It's the Zion wall, and here let me read this, and I screenshot it. It's actually a video, and I screenshotted part of the video because I thought to myself, I don't even believe this. It's so funny, and here it shows. This is the heavenly package. It's 29.5 feet by 16.4 feet high, and it's 3.9 millimeter, which is the pitch, which means how close the LEDs are, which is your resolution. Retail, it's $105,999, but the sale going on right now is $60,999, and they will finance it for $1,209 a month. And who is this from? This is from Worship Productions. This comes up in my Facebook feed, and it's the LED vid wall sale, low price guaranteed. And remember, I said if you go to one of the new non-denoms. If you don't have a video wall behind the pastor, you need to go to a different church, because that's all there is to it. Because do you know it's been proven that God pays more attention to those churches where they have video walls. Did you know that?
I think most people know that, and I think most people know he only speaks through pastors in skinny jeans.
and Birkenstocks.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?